Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. I'm Pastor Thor Ramsey with Center Church. This is Gospel for Five, where we take 5 minutes out of our day and focus on the gospel because Jesus is the gospel. So we've been going through the book of Proverbs and ended up last week about verse 18, wrapping up this whole teaching on wisdom. Well, the entire book's theme is wisdom, but this idea of being blessed when we are granted wisdom from God. That wisdom is the tree of life to those who lay hold of her, and those who hold her fast are called blessed. So we find wisdom, we have to hold on to wisdom. So in this sense, if you find Christ, hold on to Christ. If God's granted you grace to know Christ and the wisdom of Christ, you stand fast and hold on to Christ. And here we move into really an ancient definition of science. In one sense, Proverbs 3:19 and 20. The Lord by wisdom founded the earth. By understanding, he established the heavens. So this tells us we live in an orderly universe, that at its foundation, the universe is not chaotic, which is why we can discover things, which is interesting today. There's an entire mindset that the universe is at its foundation just chaotic. It's just, molecules, chaotic molecules coming together, whatever. It's interesting how you just kind of hear this out in pop culture all the time, which actually goes against the whole premise of science itself, which is discovery and provability, and then hypotheses based on the best evidence available. So the point is this: by his knowledge, the deeps broke open and the clouds drop down their dew. So there's understanding, there is knowledge, there is wisdom built into the fabric of the universe itself. That is the foundation of science. It's always been the foundation of science. This idea that we can actually go out and discover reality that... Now, there's not time to go into this, but a long, long time ago, people believed reality was outside of themselves, that they didn't have control over reality. For instance, if you go back to agriculture, right? Agriculture dominated the reality of the individual. It was outside of it. The individual didn't have control over nature. And now with technological advances, there's an aspect that we can control so much of what we do, even agriculturally, that we can control the environment, so to speak. So this lends itself to affecting all areas of life. So suffice it to say, really cutting to the chase, human beings now don't look outward for reality. Human beings don't look outward to conform to reality. They look inward. And it is in the individual, the, how is it termed? The triumph of the therapeutic. It is this whole inward looking of human beings that we now define who we are. We have to find out what makes us happy. We get to define our reality. You be you. That whole thing in pop culture language, now it comes from, this is built up over time through different influences that have come into society, and these are now the cultural waters we live in. And the church hasn't even recognized, as these things were happening, the church hasn't recognized how they've seeped in and affected our view of God's reality. And even now with critical theory and critical race theory and the social justice movement infiltrating so much of the church. And believe it or not, there are Christians who think critical race theory is a lens that we can actually that will actually help us understand biblical truth. It's not a lens, it's an ideology. It's a completely antithetical worldview to biblical Christianity. Now, how to get off on that? We live in a world, again, created by God, a God who is reasonable and rational and has put those aspects into his universe, into the human personality, so that we can search for reality out there and find reality, and each one of us hopefully edging towards the God who created us. That's the idea. Well, what's God said to you today, and what do you